Good morning, Quadcopter 101 here. Yesterday, or the day before yesterday, I did a review of the new XK Alien X250. And overall, it was a pretty cool quadcopter, and I enjoyed flying it. But with that, once I released that video, I received a lot of requests to compare it to the other quadcopter in its near class, whatever class you want to call this, sport quadcopter I call them. The U807. This is a very popular quadcopter at the moment, and one of the closest to this particular quadcopter, the XK Alien X250. So what I'm going to do today, instead of just discussing it, I'm going to go out and fly this and compare the flight performance of the two. We'll demonstrate it in tandem. I'll fly this one first, and then I'll fly this one, and then I'll use the magic of video editing to try to put these two side by side, say through funnels and through forward high-speed flight, and compare the two in their flight performance and discuss it at the same time. One other thing I want to talk about is a couple features this quadcopter supposedly has, and I have not been able to discover how to operate them. One of them is the air needle that it supposedly has to maintain altitude. Well, there is no button on this transmitter that I could discover that would activate an altitude hold. If people are thinking that's altitude hold, that's not what it is, folks. I can't find any altitude hold feature. This does seem to be very steady in maintaining elevation, but you know, in forward flight you can smash into the ground if you're not careful, if you get too much pitch, or if you reduce the pitch too much in forward flight, this thing's going to climb. I could not find an altitude hold feature with this quadcopter. I'm not really sure what that air pin is. The second feature that this supposedly has is when it loses contact, it's going to land, or that's what it's advertised as. But I haven't been able to get that to work either. I'll demonstrate that out in the field. So let's go into a flight and compare the performance of these two. And first off, I'm going to start off with demonstrating those not altitude hold. Well, yeah, I'll demonstrate that. Plus also the automatic landing feature that it supposedly has. Okay, we're bound. Let's go out into the field. This is a nice stable flyer. This would be a good quadcopter to learn to fly on, but it's also very maneuverable to keep you interested. But let's go first off into the first thing. The automatic landing with loss of control. Well, I'm going to turn off the transmitter. Ready, set. Wait, let's take it up a bit. Turning the transmitter back on. That's a good altitude to lose control at. Buttons 1, buttons 2. Well, maybe I'm a liar here. Let's try that again. 1001, 1002, 1003. That is not a smooth landing, is it, folks? Let's do that again. I'm not going to do this too many times, but let me get a little pitch on this. 1001, 1002. So, you know, that really does not work. I don't know what they're talking about there. Now, with that, let's make sure I don't got any dirt in these gears, so we can continue on. Okay, no dirt in the gears. So we discovered that that landing does not work as advertised. The landing where, let me clean the dirt off the props too. Loss of contact landing is not true. But let's show the flight performance of the two. First off, I'm going to demonstrate funnels. This is funnels in beginner mode, or beginner rate. Here, I want to get right up to it so I can compare the two. Beginner rate, expert rate. Now, expert rate does not change the yaw rate on this. It just increases the pitch. That's max pitch on it. In expert. So it's got good pitch when you go into expert rate. Let's go to beginner rate. This is the pitch in max pitch in beginner rate. You know, it's not overly impressive, but not extreme. beginner rate, max pitch, and now going to expert. Going up at wind here or downwind, doing that again, max pitch. I gotta pull out of that max pitch. I was gonna smack into the ground there. So I'm going to fly the remainder of the flight in max rate, just so I can compare these two. I'm going to fly the U-807 following this. Now I'm at max throttle, so, but it's still descending at max pitch. So that's the max speed in this quadcopter. Let's go to beginner again. This is beginner rate. Not nearly as steep as a dive. And actually I could probably maintain altitude at beginner rate. Well, maybe not. It's slowly descending, but beginner rate pitch. Going back to expert. Okay. Now, again, yaw rate does not seem to change between beginner or expert. Bringing it in closer, and I got a little wind behind my back here, but this is beginner funnels, beginner rate funnels. Going to expert. Let's go upwind a bit. And expert rate funnels. Let's get them down lower here. Take them upwind here, so it'll go by me. Expert rate funnels. Not overly aggressive. So overall, what I'm thinking is, this quadcopter, with its planned FPV package, and the way it looks, the way it's designed, it's to be a intro to FPV racers, particularly with this extreme range that you can get on this quadcopter. Let's take it upwind here. I'm a good 100 meters out, 150, coming back in. So yeah, this, with the range and with an FPV transmitter, was that expert? I wish they could. Okay, that's expert there. No. What was I talking about? With the range and with a relatively good performance, this would be a great intro to FPV racers. Although it's not an FPV racer by any means. I'm going to get grumbles from the FPV crowd or the racer crowd saying, "Oh, that's not a racer." Well, no, it's not. It's a beginner's learn to fly quadcopter, but to give you also, at the same time, a taste of FPV racing once that pod is available, that racing pod that's planned for this. So overall, actually, I think it is a fun little quadcopter. It can be a great quadcopter for those of you interested in eventually transitioning to a real racer. Now, following this flight, as I said before, I'm going to fly my U-807 and mostly duplicate some of these maneuvers. Where's the flip on this thing? No more power for flipping. Flipping's not a big deal to me, though. How about backwards flying? It can fly backwards real well, too. By the way, as I mentioned in previous videos, there is no front and back on a quadcopter. You can even fly sideways if you want. Here I'm flying sideways now to show that. It flies equally well any direction you want. Side, left side, right side, backwards. So I think I've shown enough here. Let's go fly the, I'm going to go fly the U-807. I'm not going to do a full review of the U-807. What I'm planning to do is just superimpose, like I said, certain clips from my flight of the U-807 with this so I can show the difference in flight performance of the two. So, hope you enjoyed this flight. Again, there's no air needle or altitude hold feature on this quadcopter as advertised. I don't know what they're talking about there. I went through all these buttons and tried every combination of pressing these buttons. There goes the battery. But could not find any means to maintain altitude on this quadcopter other than manually adjusting the throttle. And that automatic landing when loss of contact, no, when this loses contact, it'll fly for a few seconds and then drop like a rock like all the other quadcopters out there. So this is Quadcopter 101 with the X250. It is a cool quadcopter. I enjoy flying it. It is comparable to the U-807, but it is what it is. So it's Quadcopter 101. It has great range, though. Remember that, folks. This has 300-meter range. Not many other quadcopters have that. Okay, this Quadcopter 101. Quadcopter 101 signing out. U-807.